I jump in, I just want to say thanks so much for having us on, and really looking forward to getting stuck into this. And we've got some really cool stuff to show you. So yeah, let's jump in. So just so you all know what to expect here, this is the running order for today. So yeah, we're going to cover off why creator marketing and why we're doing what we're actually doing, and then we're going to go into what actually is Bitcast. Then we're going to dive into what we've been doing on YouTube and show you some new upgrades that we've just finished. And then probably the most exciting part of this to go through our new social media integration. No spoilers here, but yeah, you'll have to stay until the end to see that one. And then we'll just finish it off with what's next. So what else have we got in the pipeline that we're working on? So yeah, I'll make a start on it. Right. So once upon a time, the dominant way to reach customers was through newspapers, so full page spreads, headlines, copywriters in smoky rooms. It was like it was the golden age of advertising, really. Then the internet arrived. At first, companies like Alta Vista sold banner ads. But the real breakthrough came when Google realized something powerful. So ads tied to search terms was really where the value was, and the pay-per-click movement was born, and it changed absolutely everything. So soon after that, Facebook joined the party. Cookies and social data putting ads into our feeds, and for 2 decades, PPC has been the king of digital advertising. Companies have poured billions into these platforms, chasing clicks and conversions. But problems are brewing. So, and they have been for some time, because the competition is fierce, and the costs just keep on rising. And just like the newspapers that came before them, the return on investment for PPC it is dropping. And the market always follows return on investment, and newspapers lost out to the internet, and now it's starting to happen again. So today, the highest return on investment is no longer PPC. It's creator-led marketing. So it's in the hands of influencers, YouTubers, tweeters, TikTokers, and brands are seeing up to 11 times the return on investment compared to traditional digital ads. And obviously, the money is flowing. Spend on creator content is growing at double-digit rates, and it's expected to double within the next 2 years to $500 billion per year. And just a fun fact before I move on, just in case you're curious, what the dominant force of ads was prior to the newspaper, it was the town crier. And I had to leave it off my slides just because DeepSeek couldn't seem to find out what the return on investment was for a town crier. Okay, so enter Bitcast. And we're the next gen ad platform. Storytelling verified by AI. And we're the first decentralized multi-platform marketplace that connects brands to creators with a key difference. The rewards are anchored to genuine influence and scalable attention. Right, so before I jump into what Bitcast does, I think a good place to start is to have a look at the current process for creator marketing and why it's broken. So it's done on a one. If a brand wants to do creator marketing, it's done on a one-to-one basis. And typically, a brand would create a short list of creators, and then they'll do their outreach, and they'll go through rate negotiations, contracts, and when they get the content, they'll do these reviews around their brand messaging, and they'll go round and round. And once the content is published, the brand will often be left with unverified performance metrics. So what do I mean by that? Like often, a creator would take a screenshot of their social media account and send it over to the brand. Very open to manipulation. And as you can probably tell, this is a very, very time-intensive process. It's also run by vanity metrics. So what do I mean by that? I mean what you actually see are on the surface level of the social media is views, likes, and subscribers, and it's all very easy to buy, and it's very hard to actually tell what's real and what's actually going on. Another thing that the industry's run by is fixed fees. So incentives aren't linked to performance really. Creators can do what they can do the bare minimum essentially to get their payday. Um, and I mean, the alternative to a brand doing this is that they can go to an agency, and essentially the problems that agencies have, they go through the exact same process. So it's extremely manual, it's very time intensive, and then they charge massive fees for that work. So yeah, that's creator marketing in a nutshell, really, at the moment. And yeah, so I just want to show you what the actual impact of that is. So because of these issues and because it's so time intensive, brands are struggling to manage large numbers of creators, especially whilst they're trying to maintain a consistent brand messaging. Therefore, they're often opting to work with macro and mid-tier creators. So, creators who have got the biggest audiences. But this actually isn't where the maximum value lies. The maximum value actually is in the hands of creators and with smaller audiences. And essentially, this boils down to trust. So, smaller audiences, you feel part of a community. You feel like you've got connection. Followers often get replies to their comments from these smaller creators as well, and as a result, followers perceive the recommendations from these smaller creators as more authentic rather than transactional and like corrupted by big businesses. So yeah, so I'm just going to show you some stats on this. So let's look at YouTube specifically here. So the pie chart on the left shows that it shows the estimated number of active YouTubers by subscriber tier. And as you can see, so the macro and mid-tier creators only account for 5%, whereas the micro and nano creators make up the rest, like a vast majority. And what's really powerful and interesting about this is the fact that if you look at the bar chart on the right, this shows the engagement rates of these creators. And nano creators have much higher engagement rates than macro. They're much better at converting for these brands, and it's almost 4 times as much on average, obviously. And so I suppose what I'm trying to point out is, like, wouldn't it be great if there was a way to unlock access at scale to all of these smaller creators? And this is exactly where Bitcast comes in. So Bitcast unlocks access to these smaller creators, and it does it at scale. Bitcast incentivizes high quality content with consistent brand messaging across hundreds, maybe even thousands of creators. And how we do this in each of India's 19,000 zip codes, maybe even 100 in certain areas. So that's a crazy amount of influencers. And Unilever alone spent $9.4 billion in 2024. And they're not alone here. I think it's over 50% of multinational firms have said that they want to start allocating more funds to creator marketing. Right. So let's take a look at what Bitcast actually does and what it actually is. And I think this is a common misconception. Bitcast is not a marketing agency. We're building the tools that brands and marketing agencies use. We're building the tools that brands and marketing agencies use for creator marketing. And there's a really key difference here. So if you look at possibly the 2 most successful companies over the last 20 years, it's probably Meta and Google. And in 2024, 98% of Meta's revenue came from their ad tools, 75% for Google. And from a business perspective, what's great about these tools is that Google and Meta make money regardless of how their tools are actually used, if they're used effectively or not. The fact that they can be used effectively is what is key. And that is exactly what we're building with Bitcast. So we're building a trustless tech layer for creator marketers and brands to use for marketing. Right. So just going to run you through the Bitcast YouTube solution. And essentially, how it works is a brand would come to Bitcast and provide us with a content brief. So a content brief would say something like, talk about X, Y, and Z. And then creators on the Bitcast network will see that brief and they will go and make content accordingly. They will publish it to YouTube. And then what happens next is the AI validation. So there's two steps in this. The first one being that the videos are verified that they actually meet the content brief. So, did the video actually talk about X, Y, and Z? And if it does, it passes. And then the next step is that it measures and rewards genuine engagement. That's crucial. And then the rewards are paid out via the alpha tokens. And just having a bit more of a deeper look at the actual validation on this. So a crucial component to this is the miner setup. So when a miner joins Bitcast, they grant us read-only access to their official YouTube APIs. And then we use Shoots to compare the video transcripts of each video and the description against the brief. And then if it passes that, then we go on to the scoring. So the primary metric that we use for scoring is a YouTube finance or financial value, which is directly tied to watch time. And essentially this value is what YouTube are paying out to the video. And as you can imagine, this is highly vetted. And it means that we're able to reward genuine attention by using this value. We're able to reward genuine attention rather than the vanity metrics that actually don't deliver any value. Another really good thing about this value as well is that it also takes into CPM. Sorry, it takes the audience's CPM into account. So obviously, audiences in the USA are more valuable than the ones in India. And the crypto niche is more valuable than videos of fluffy cats. So it takes that all into account. It means that we can scale into any narrative because YouTube are doing the computation for us on that. And yeah, so our incentive mechanism, it's a player versus environment incentive mechanism. So it's a bit different to pretty much most, if not all, of Bittensor. And what that means is that it's creators versus eyeballs versus attention, rather than against each other. And why do we do this? So it's easier. It's easy to understand and it's predictable. So, we give creators a calc, and creators can use that to estimate how much they can expect to get paid if they deliver a certain amount of engagement. And this is really important for our subnet specifically because it aligns with the industry norms, and creators understand that. If you say they're competing against each other, it doesn't translate very well to the industry. And yeah, the rewards that we pay out are tied to dollar values. So essentially, if a creator is expecting to get paid $1,000 for a video, they receive $1,000 in alpha for that video. And it's not linked to the total amount of miner emissions that the subnet actually has access to, which means that there's on a daily basis we're left with a lot of excess miner emissions. And on average, it's currently about 90%. And what do we do with these miner emissions? We actually burn them. Okay, so just to sort of recap on what are the actual headline benefits for brands then? So unrivaled speed and simplicity. So, publish your brief. You don't have to do outreach, you don't have to do negotiations, you don't have to do admin. The second one is they can broadcast their message at scale. Um, our AI can verify thousands of videos against a client's brief in seconds and in any language. Now, I'm still waiting for someone to pull me up on this and tell me I'm wrong, but I think we might be the only solution in the world that can actually do this at the moment. And the last one is that brands can amplify their budgets. So they can maximize their reach and influence, and they can capitalize on these smaller creators where the real value is without waste on vanity metrics at the same time. Right. So on this slide, it's stats of how it's going so far. Um, so on Bitcast at the moment, our creators between them currently have 456,000 subscribers. We've generated 389 videos, all on Bittensor. We've collected 303,000 views, and we've generated more closely linked to everything I've been talking about before. We've generated 18.6 thousand hours of watch time. To put that in context, that's actually over 2 years of continuous watch time, all on BitTensor content. Below, you can see all of the BitTensor subnets and companies that we've worked with so far. Just a quick shout out to say thank you to every single one of us for working with us so far. And just a shameless shill, if any of you want to or interested in joining this list, just hit me up on X. Um, but now what we've got our sights on is how do we pour rocket fuel onto these numbers? How do we get to the next level? And that boils down to two challenges that we've faced so far. So the first being onboarding new creators. Um, and currently, the process to join Bitcast has been very technical, so requiring coding knowledge. And this has been a major barrier for us growing our creator base. The second challenge has been a scalable revenue model. So we've been charging fixed fees, which are not linked to the output received. And this makes it very hard to let brands scale up and scale down their spending based on the needs of their businesses. So the solution to the first challenge of onboarding more creators is our no code miner. And I'm so happy to confirm that the no code miner is now operational. We have several creators already using it, and we're in the process at the moment of just onboarding the rest of our remaining creators. And this tool is crucial for mass adoption, and because generally creators are not coders. And with the no code miner, new creators can join the network and mine with nothing more than just an email address. Now, I'd like to point out that the no code miner is completely optional and Bitcast remains permissionless. And if creators want to set up a regular miner, they absolutely can do. Um, and we do charge a 5% fee on emissions for the use of this no code miner service, which we will use to reinvest into developing the subnet. Another thing that we've got going is that we're soon to launch a multilingual email campaign, and we also have a new website about to be released, which is all geared towards seamless onboarding with educational content on how everything works and social proof from creators that are already on the network. And once we've got these news creators onto Bitcast, they're going to be presented with two briefs that they've got to do to kick things off. A BitTensor introduction, so helping them to understand what BitTensor is, and also to kick them off towpilling their audiences. And the second one is a 3 subnet showcase. So this is essentially creators will do their own research, and they'll learn about all the great stuff that we've got going on within BitTensor, and they can pick out subnets that they like. one of which will be Bitcast. And this is going to be perpetual marketing for our platform, essentially. It's obviously great for visibility for us, but also in turn, it's going to get us more and more creators. Okay. And the second one, so the solution to the second challenge is for sustainable and scalable pricing. And for us to scale, our revenue needs to surpass our emissions, or at least cover the emissions. And our first product that we'll be doing this with is our ad reads. And essentially, what ad reads are where creators talk about a brand for the first 30 seconds within the first, sorry, for 30 seconds within the first 3 minutes of their videos. And we've already run one of these campaigns and we successfully ran it with Tower Stats. And due to the success of that, I'm really happy to say that they're going to be our first customer to use this sustainable model, which will be kicking off soon. And how it works is that brands will load up a budget and then creators will draw down from that budget. And when the budget is all used up, emissions will stop. And we've been speaking to some, like really exciting actually, that we've been speaking to some social media managers of big crypto brands such as exchanges. And this product is going to be of a lot of interest to them. And it's going to really help them scale up their ad read efforts, especially when we've got more creators on board. Right. So just to sort of go on to what the opportunity here is. So the average crypto company allocates between 10 to 20% of their revenue on marketing. Just look at Coinbase. And in 2024 alone, they spent 654 million on marketing. And today, those dollars are going to have two options. They can continue with slow, admin heavy agencies where every campaign is weighed down by contracts, middlemen, inefficiencies, or they can switch to Bitcast, where every campaign is AI verified, automated, and frictionless. And just sort of going back to what I was speaking about before, crypto is not our final stop. These tools can be used for any brand wanting to work with content creators, whether it be Apple, Disney, Nike. And these companies, they spend billions every year, and they have absolutely no concept of what a crypto bear market is. And finally, our tokenomics on this one are pretty simple. So all revenue is used to buy back and burn our alpha token. Right. So that's enough on YouTube. I'm going to hand over to Will, and he's going to run you through what he and Laz.eth, or Nick, who's one of our developers, what they've both been working on hard over the last couple of months. And yeah, he's going to explain to you what our exciting new social media integration is. Yeah, so over to you, Will.
Yeah, nice one. Hey everyone, good to be here. Really excited now to show you what we've been working on over the past couple of months. It's our new subnet mechanism. It's our X integration. So all these platforms are fundamentally different, and they're all going to have completely different incentive mechanisms, as you'll see. YouTube, predominantly, it's a long form, one-way broadcast platform, whereas X is high frequency, short form web of social interactions. Very messy. It's got a few challenges to it, but it's a really, really interesting problem to work on. So I'll just show you a couple of the key challenges of marketing on X today. I'll show you how that's shaped our approach, and then I'll show you our new incentive mechanism and a demo to go with it. Okay. Hit the next slide there, Tom. So two key issues with marketing on X today that we've identified. Signal decay, number one. So the platform has become completely corrupted and easily manipulated. It's overrun with bots, as we all know. Engagement is for sale, retweets, followers, likes, even smart followers for sale now. And this is a big problem because marketing likes measurability. Marketers have become accustomed to and they expect to be able to justify market spend with measurable results. And we've got to the point now on X where we just don't have any metrics left that we can trust. So it's very difficult for a brand to trust creators to get them results, especially when you start looking at this at scale. It becomes near impossible. Number two, a complete loss of authenticity. So authenticity is a key factor in trust, credibility, and influence. It ranks number one in concerns of marketers in 2025 in the US. And due to poorly aligned incentives on X, some coming from X themselves and some coming from InfoFi products on X, we've seen an explosion in this unauthentic behavior. And that generally manifests in high volume, low quality content. And it's not sustainable, we think, to build a business model around that kind of content. Brands that associate themselves with producing this kind of slop, they're degrading their own brand, and we don't think they'll stand the test of time. So yeah, let's go next slide. So with that in mind, we've identified 3 key points to build our incentive mechanism around. So first up, we need to anchor our incentives around a corruption-resistant metric. So that's what we've done. So it's based on a decentralized social consensus that is by design exploit resistant and Sybil resistant. And the integrity of this metric anchors the entire X product for us. So this is core. Second, we want to have a big push on quality over quantity. This is something that's lacking on X at the moment, and it's something that we feel we can build a strong reputation around. So this is quality over quantity, and that applies to, firstly, the accounts that we allow mine. So the incentive mechanisms be programmed to have to be very selective and to have naturally a high bar for entry on accounts. And then secondly, it's quality of the tweets that those accounts put out. So we limit the quantity of tweets that accounts can mine with in order to push them on quality. And then thirdly, we want to be able to offer highly targeted influence to our clients. So quality messaging needs to be delivered directly to a target market. This isn't about noise. This is about targeted quality. Yeah, so next slide. Yeah, so the design of the subnet mechanism is based around mapping specific niches on X. So once we've mapped these niches, we identify high influence accounts within these niches, the core of these niches, and we can target them with incentives. So you've got 3 examples on the screen there of some communities that do exist on X. The 2 on the left are examples that may be of interest to some subnets on Bittensor, and on the right, more generally, you can see how we could push Tau and Bittensor into these sort of communities. So yeah, we feel that we're at the point now with some of the subnets on Bittensor that we need to be inserting some of these stronger brands into the cores of these conversations. But of course, this isn't limited to only Bittensor. This can also be applied to brands outside of Bittensor, as long as they have as long as they map to a community in one of these sort of key valuable niche areas, of which there are many. Then we can push that brand in there. Okay, let's go next slide. So that's where we're going. but we're starting a bit more locally than that. We're going to start with Tau and Bittensor. So so we've mapped out the Bittensor niche to find and rank the top 150 Bittensor X accounts. So we've done this algorithmically. We started with OpenTensor as a seed account previously and ended up with the same network map, but OpenTensor seemed the right place to start. And we've crawled the network using retweets, quotes, and mentions. So these are what I would say are public endorsements. So when you retweet someone, you are staking your own reputation against theirs in a way that you aren't doing with a like or a follow or a reply. So yeah, the core of this is that we're using PageRank algorithm to calculate influence scores. PageRank, created by Google to rank web pages, but it's really applicable to this scenario as well. So if you get endorsed by a lot of highly influential accounts, you become influential. If you get endorsed by some less influential accounts, you'll be influential but less so. So yeah, essentially what this gives us 150 top KOLs within Bittensor and a network influence score for each. You can think of this as a starting point for the subnet mechanism. So we generate this ourselves, open source the code used to do so, and then we pass this starting point off to the validators, and they will then maintain it over time from there on out. So every week, new accounts will come in, and every week, some accounts will leave the top 150. The only way to enter the top 150 from outside is to be endorsed by those currently inside. And this network graph is essentially our living, breathing whitelist to mine. So you can't mine if you're not in this 150 until you earn your place in the 150. And this sets a high bar, like I was saying earlier on. It's a high bar to mine. And what we're incentivizing here, we think, is long-term influence and trust of the wider community. Okay, so I do have a quick demo here. I'm going to share with you what this actually looks like for Bittensor specifically. Share screen. Can you see this screen, guys?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, nice. So this is actually, I think this is 128 accounts, but we need to move this up to 150 or potentially slightly higher, I think. But taking a look at this, you'll see that sort of passing the smell test, the accounts at the top here are accounts that have trust within the ecosystem. So intuitively, it seems to make sense. And if we take a look on a graph view, you can see here the connections that each of these accounts has. So each of these lines is an endorsement. So Jake is heavily endorsed, so he has a high influence score within this network. And I think this gives you a bit of an idea of the exploit resistance. To enter this group, you'll need to win over the endorsement of a bunch of different accounts within the ecosystem. You don't get in on one retweet or one quote. So yeah, I mean, what's nice about it is it's not all about subs. You have, for instance, you've got Jason here, a lot of subs, and obviously holds a lot of authority on X and outside of X. But because he's just entering Bittensor and he hasn't yet built up maybe as many connections as some of the guys higher up, this is where he sits. Whereas higher up, they may have less subs, but they're tightly integrated into the ecosystem, which I think is really nice. So you kind of have to earn your way into the middle over time. So yeah, I think so. So this is it. This list may change slightly ahead of launch. But whilst we're here, I also want to show you guys what I think is or will be the easiest way to start mining on the whole of Bittensor. So Tom's already said we've got a big push on this. We need to reduce the technical barriers to entry. The skills that we want are not necessarily the technical ones. So if you look over here, anyone that's within this list can arrive at the page. They can drop their cold key to their Bittensor wallet here, generate a tag, copy this tag, include it in a tweet, and that's it. They are then mining. So you can be mining here in 30 seconds, which we're really proud of. And we think this basically is how we're going to scale this out. We want to have thousands of accounts, influential accounts, some of which know Bittensor, some of which have never even heard of Bittensor. This still requires a Bittensor wallet, but I suppose the next phase of this would be different wallets on different chains or stable coins or yeah, to be seen. But yeah, if you sign up here, you will essentially all the miners that sign up this way go through a single UID and they receive daily payments, daily alpha payments at the moment. And we take a 5% cut that we put back in towards subnet development. Yeah, and this isn't the only way you can mine. If you'd rather own your own UID, then you can do that. If you know how to register a UID, then you can do it that way. And the tweet is just slightly different. It will be a slightly different code with your hotkey in it, but still no mining code, no infrastructure, no infrastructure spend or setup or technical experience, nothing. Just start mining. Okay. Let's go back to the slides.
Yep. You need to stop sharing.
There you go.
Bear with me 1 sec. There we go. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, can see that. Oh, cool. Right. So accounts in that top 150 have demonstrated to the protocol that they have influence. However, in order to earn rewards, they need to now apply that influence to one of our brands, to one of our clients. And the way they do that is by fulfilling a brief. So we've got a few examples of briefs on the right-hand side there. These are just fictional. But you'll see sort of the way we've written these briefs, they're quite open-ended. They leave, we think, a lot of room for overly subscriptive, and that's the way we want them to be. We do have some sentiment analysis that will apply to these tweets that come in. But we'll be accepting sort of positive or balanced sentiment. Yeah, we can't really allow negative sentiment on behalf of the brands. It wouldn't make sense from a business perspective, but we leave it quite open enough for authenticity. Yeah, so the scores are the scores for the tweets are generated based upon the endorsements that specific tweet receives. So we've got the whitelist, which is incentivizing long-term influence And then now we're actually incentivizing a quality tweet as well that's engaging, that gets engagement on it. Each brief has a reward part associated to it. At the end of the brief, the reward part is split between the tweets that match the brief, and it's split proportionally to the score that the tweet got. So yeah, that is X. Oh, no, we've got one more slide. But it's the no-code mining, but we've already sort of covered it. But what's required? Influence, thought leadership, personal brand. What's not required? Any technical background, any infrastructure at all. Yeah, really excited about that. But yeah, that sort of wraps up X. I know we'll have time for some questions, and I'm sure there will be a few afterwards. Feedback also welcome. But yeah, we'll be releasing this very soon. Do you want to take over from there, Tom?
Yeah. All right. So yeah. So what are our upcoming upgrades? So as Will's just alluded to, our X integration will be going live next month. As you can see, all the inner workings are done, so we just need to finish up the user interface. The next social media that's on the chopping block for us is going to be TikTok, and we've already started building the incentive mechanism for this one as well. I'm not going to say too much more on how we're doing this one just yet, but what's really cool about TikTok is that you really don't need an audience on TikTok. It's a totally different algorithm. So you don't really need to be, you don't have to have an audience, you don't need to be influential, you just have to do really cool videos and get loads of views. So yeah, that's TikTok. And then finally, it's the advertisers portal. And this is where things will get really exciting for Bitcast. So no longer will brands need to come to us over DMs and for us to be the bottleneck for onboarding new brands. They'll be able to log in and set up their own briefs using the interface, and then they'll be able to allocate their funds accordingly, and they'll have a lot of parameters that they can play with. So yeah, that's essentially like the sort of the last piece of the puzzle to really get this all really ramping up and kicking into gear. So that's what we've got coming up, and yeah, and just as a quick recap on everything we just covered. So marketing budgets want to be spent on content creation, but there is way too much inefficiency and friction to scale it. And essentially, that is exactly what we're doing. We're building the tools to unlock creator marketing, and Bitcast is going to be that decentralized layer, that decentralized brain that will power it all. Yeah, that is the presentation done, guys. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. I keep the slides going, so we can zoom in. There's
Oh
there's
yeah,
a
okay.
ton there we can go over. Like one thing that we didn't talk about, right, is we actually have I was like, I came to you guys a couple weeks ago, or wasn't maybe more than a month. And at first I was like, oh no, what is this subnet? I think that whenever a new subnet comes out and it does successfully on Bittensor, I'm sure that's the wrong attitude. But with you guys, I was like extremely pleasantly surprised with the algorithm and really the mechanism you had with YouTube. We had like a 5-minute conversation, and it was like, okay, that works. And you guys have been running a number of briefs. Like just for the audience, can we go look at them and like just taking a look at like view count, the content, like seeing the machine in action. Is it on your
What?
your website, I believe?
Oh yeah, okay. Second. Where is it gone? Go. Is this the page that you meant?
Yes, this one exactly. And so like a little bit.
Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, so essentially, a brand would come to us, and like I mentioned before, it's done really via DMs and conversations, and I jump on the call with different brands, and then we go through what they want to talk about, and then we come up with a brief, and essentially, a brand has two inputs into this process. So the first is these bullet points here. So I'm just using Synth for example. So I jumped on a call with the guys at Synth and sort of running through all the cool stuff that they're doing. And we came up with these bullet points. So, we've got one, two, anyway, we've got a certain amount of bullet points here. And generally these are they're quite high level bullet points, and these are what the LLM compares against the transcripts and the descriptions on each video. So this is the first part of the validation. And yeah, and if it and to sorry, and to go alongside this, there's a second input from the brand, and it's this download pack here. Essentially, what that download pack has on it is has all the information that a creator, plus more information, but all the information a creator would need to cover these topics. So, how synth brings quant tools to everyone. So within that download, it's got all the information about what synth are doing. And essentially it's obviously from the brand, it's really, really accurate information. It just makes it really easy to keep the brand messaging consistent. It means that the accurate information is in the hands of the creators, and they can go and do loads more research, and some of our creators do. Or they can just read these download packs and really get a good grasp of what the project is. So yeah, that's essentially how it works. And another tool that is really, really useful for creators is the script checker. So essentially, what the script checker does is a creator makes a video, and then they can download the description and the transcript and the description from the video, and then they can check it against the LLM itself before they publish it. Because what would be really annoying for creators, and what would sort of really stop Bitcast from being useful, is if they release videos and they've missed a point off. And there is some other clever things going on in here. So we've got sentiment analysis. So as Will said, this is all around authenticity again. There is sentiment analysis. So videos can be positive and they can be balanced. They can't be overly negative because that's damaging to the brand. And this all comes down to creators have got the choice. If they think the video fits with their audience and they want to do it, then they can choose to do it. If they don't want to do it, they don't have to do it. And yeah, that's essentially in a nutshell, like how the process works, really.
So let's look at one that's been done already, like a
Should we look at
completed.
the
Sure, let's
completed
do that
one?
one.
Yeah, the human consensus one.
Yeah, so this is mine. This is my brief,
Yeah.
the most complicated brief ever.
It
And so,
was a good test.
yeah, it was a good test. And so we have 1,300 views, so 1,300 hours watched. People out there boring themselves reading, watching videos on human consensus. Although it's not boring. I'm sure they're very interesting videos. And the brand overview is probably a complicated doc. That's human consensus written by some of our researchers, right, including myself. People have taken this apart and they basically went out and tried to explain this difficult concept. And so I wish there was a space we could see all the active videos. Is there? Can we show the audience like what this actually looks like in practice, like what people are creating? I mean, we're not going to watch the
Uh,
video, but
no, well, right now, it's all part of the new website. So we're going to have a page where it's got a live feed of videos coming in. Right now, we don't actually have a feed for it, unfortunately. We have made an API that's available to everyone to use, and it's completely free. And so far it's Backprop that have put it into their trading panel, which is really cool. So they essentially, like when you're doing your research into your subnets, you can see the videos for that specific subnet next to the trading. So if you're going, this chart was good, oh, let me do a bit of research, and you actually want to watch a video, you can do that. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a great feed to show you, I'm afraid.
I've got I've
It's all
got
going to be part of the new website.
I've got a playlist here with all the shoots videos. If you want to share it,
Oh, okay.
um,
Yeah. Go on then.
shall I share my
I've
screen?
actually I've chucked one inside the. I'm definitely I'm pumping Victor's video here. I'm trying to get him last minute views on his
I'll be very happy.
and yeah, and this is interestingly not in English, right? So because we're ranking we're using LLMs, like they can understand the transcript in French or Spanish or Vietnamese or anything, correct? So it's not a problem what language they build it in, as long as they can hit their community.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why we've got this big list of content creators that's in all different languages. And you know, the task that I handed off to the guys who did it was go and find me a load of content creators from these specific countries. So I've got a huge list of email addresses from all around the world. And right now, I think we've got four, maybe five languages on Bitcast. Um, but that that that's not going to stay like that. And if you look at sort of Google Analytics of where a lot of Bitcast is getting Googled, a lot of it's in Asia. So we need to be hitting that market. And there's literally, other than getting them on board and reaching out to them, there's nothing from a technical standpoint that stops us from doing that.
Has Bitcast been applied to itself yet?
As in, did we run a brief?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. We ran I think it was our second brief. And then I think
There you
we did another one. We've not done one for a
Is there one?
while, to be fair.
Wait, is
What
there
was it?
it was number 10 literally just about Barry Silbert?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. It was like they've not all been branded briefs, and to be honest, like this is really really good content, and this is sort of similar to what the how I was talking about the two briefs that creators are going to see when they join the network. These are the sort of briefs that they're going to see, where it's sort of like the absolute bull case on and why Bittensor is amazing, and things like this just help. They're good stories, aren't they? They make engaging videos. So yeah, I did a brief on Barry.
So you guys are doing the numbers here, and there was a section in your slides where you said you guys are being very careful about token distribution, trying to be you're trying to focus on revenue positive. You're using revenue numbers from Google. What's a comparable here? If I'm Barry and I gotta up my image a little bit, and I wanted to get 1,100 hours watched on YouTube. What would I do? I'd go to one or two KOLs and I'd say, I'm a cool guy. I'm Barry. I like really great wine. I got in Bitcoin early. Do a thing on me. And they'd say, okay, great. It's going to cost you $15,000 or $20,000 or 30 grand. I don't know. What is it? What does it look like? The classic, clunky, rough edges, slow manual process of trying to pump Silbert bags.
So, as in, from like how much do you think it'd cost? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. The legacy system. Take me through, I would just the stocks on Const are going down. It's sharp bear market on Const stocks, and so I want to go out and I want to get more attention. I want to tell my story, Tom. I want people to know who I am. What am I doing now?
So yeah, I mean, well, initially you'd find your creators, you you'd reach out to them. Really, one of the things that's I've found really difficult, and it's definitely difficult within the industry, especially within crypto anyway, is that it's really hard to not fall into scams, because a lot of, you go and find these creators, and you'd go through that loop of like, okay, well, who am I? Try and get them to engage with you, and then you'd say, right, okay, this is what I want you to speak about. Like, how much is this going to cost? They'll give you a pretty big figure. Like, YouTube creators are not cheap. And then if you wanted to go ahead, then you would, and you'd get. I mean, it is obviously different for different creators, and they work in different ways. And it's probably the nice thing about Bitcast. Everyone works in exactly the same way, but generally there'll be contracts involved. And then you'll get a video made, and you view it, and you're like, oh, hang on a minute, like I didn't tell you to say that bit, or that bit's wrong, or all these sort of problems. So you do generally go around in a bit of a loop. And then when it goes to getting published, yeah, you get these videos published, and essentially, like I said before, it's not. You might get a screenshot of their social media account. Um, and obviously you can see the number of views, and you can see the number of comments and likes on videos, but it's really hard to actually ascertain, generally, like, what's your average percentage view time? Like, what, have you made an engagement video here? Like, I like it because it's about me, but, what did everyone else think? And you want to know those sort of things.
Mhm.
So yeah, you find that quite hard to get to the bottom of actually what's going on. But yeah, just going back to the other thing as well, like, there's a lot of scams out there. I think since starting Bitcast, I've done a lot of outreach myself, and it's really, really difficult to get people from outside of Bittensor to come and set up miners. Just doesn't work at the moment. So this is why the no-code miner is like crucial. But like, I must have come across about 20, 30 different scam attempts on me. And Bitcast gets rid of all of that. You literally you load up your budget to Bitcast, and only genuine engagement will pull it down. So you're not having to send like a fixed fee up front to a creator hoping that they do a video. Yeah, so it solves a lot of problems compared to that sort of traditional model.
And what do you think that would cost in today's world to get that done? To get maybe 5 videos from 5 creators, and what numbers are we talking here? So we have 1,100 hours watched, and these are early signs of success. But how many would we expect to get for $10,000?
It's well, for $10,000, probably not loads. But it's massively dependent. You know how I was sort of talking about niches and creators, and you've got massive varying levels of expense for a creator. But I'd say typically, if you were going after a really small niche creator, you probably, I mean, I've not come across a creator that charges less than $500, $400 personally. Um, but I'd say generally, I think you're probably looking at, on average, between, I don't know, anywhere up from probably like 1,000 to, I don't know. I don't know what the upper limit is, to be honest. It really depends on, like, if you went to Mr. Beast, I have no idea what you'd have to pay him. But it's a
Why
hard
isn't
thing
he
to
on the
sort of. I've not reached
Hey
out to
guys,
him yet, actually.
you're 3 months in, so maybe one day. Okay, so it's highly dependent, and right now you guys are testing out the mechanism. You're getting a bunch of views. Just looking at the community that you're building here. What are some other like metrics that you're following to see whether or not that this is working as intended?
Other metrics would be, I mean, we are, I sort of alluded to it a second ago, but we are sort of, and it's part of our incentive mechanism actually, but your videos need, I mentioned average, essentially average view time sort of shows like how how long our audiences in general staying on your videos. So we monitor that, and typically, like, a really good video will be upwards of like 40-50%. So we are sort of keeping tabs on that, and that is part of our incentive mechanism, as like there's a lower band. But yeah, essentially that's probably as far as we're tracking. I mean, there is other things that we've got in the incentive mechanism which are sort of protective towards the to the incentive mechanism. But yeah, it's really boils down to view time really.
How many unique creators can you estimate that you have running these videos?
Right now,
Blimey.
we've got.
Um,
So I'll jump in just because I was looking at this yesterday. Right now we've got 28 YouTube accounts connected.
And these are YouTube content creators that have gone out, made fully fledged videos on a topic, and posted that. Maybe spent like a full day. I'm not sure actually how long it takes to create a video on YouTube. I'm just gonna say a day, and researched a topic, built a video, got in front of a camera. There's about 28 teams or so that are pushing content out on your behalf.
Yeah, well, we've got different types of miners. We've got some that are dedicated and pick up every single brief, and then we got some that dip in and out when the briefs suit them. So there's sort of some of them are in, some of them are out at certain times. But yeah, they're all. The nice thing about this, the thing that's been great to watch is, um, most of these YouTubers had heard about Bittensor before, and maybe it was one of their areas that they like to talk about a bit, but they were maybe more into a couple of other areas. But at this point, the guys that we've had mining, most of them have gone full on Bittensor. They've tau-pilled themselves and now are tau-pilling their audiences because we've literally sat them down and paid them to talk about ridges, shoots, and the rest of the subnets. So really, people think this is about tau-pilling the audiences, but really we're in stealth mode, tau-pilling YouTubers themselves.
What I see that like uh, there's one perspective where you guys are scaling, and incentivizing content creation in this unique way, and I believe that's true. But another way to think about what the network is, it's like it's you guys are like a media firm, right? You're like a newspaper. You have your journalists, you have your content creators, and you have this week's um, Bitcast paper where people can pay to have this. You guys are the editors of this newspaper. You create the briefs, and the journalists go out and they fill that content on the front page. So hypothetically, the framework could be like, okay, we're gonna have stories on this and stories on this and stories on this and stories on this, and then a whole swarm of maybe hundreds or thousands of content creators and going and filling out those sections of the newspaper to create content.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Sorry, I thought Will might jump in there. No, you're 100% right. Yeah, and essentially it's basically a PR release on YouTube, isn't it?
yeah. So just playing adversarial little here. If I were to go and spend money on just Google AdSense, I believe is really the standard, um, to just push my product into the advertisements on top of videos, right? It's a lot easier. The content creators go and create content, and then I put my ad on I just plaster on top of their content. Why is that not more scalable and more effective?
The metrics that we're using don't count ad spend that you spent on your own video, or ad spend that anybody spent on your video. The previous metrics that we had, that was an issue in some cases, but we can see from the data we have, we can see exactly where all the traffic is coming from in categories. So we can see whether it's Google Ads traffic, or whether it's from your subscribers, or whether it's from external platforms, if it's coming from Telegram or wherever it's coming from. So we have that data, and we can simply exclude certain categories from the scoring if we want to, but the current metrics that we're using don't actually require that.
That's a great answer to a question that I didn't ask. Um, but
Okay.
I'm glad you put that out there. Actually, I was just saying, like, comparing what you guys are building to, you know, Google AdSense. If as me as a customer of Bitcast or Google AdSense, like, why would I use Bitcast over Google AdSense? I know that I can put a small ad in front of a lot of videos, but like, what's better about this sort of deep form content?
Well, this is creators. This is about trust and personality. So we're giving you access to creators who have built trust with a dedicated audience on scale. You don't get that level of personal trust and connection through something like Google AdSense. It's different kind of marketing. It doesn't connect in the same way. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does.
This is going back to that
Which is
PPC comparison that I did at the beginning, where PPC is generally not returning the same return on investment as it does for the as content creators.
Yeah, it's just kind of like very scalable, weak content versus deep signal. Um, when it comes to the second part of your guys' presentation, like moving into Twitter, why did you guys pick Twitter over um, TikTok first? Why did you guys want to penetrate that market?
Um, Both are valuable in different ways. Uh, TikTok's massively a huge user base and it connects with audiences in a slightly different way. And it's used in a slightly different way. X is very valuable in select. It has really tight communities around high value niches like tech, crypto, finance, AI. Um, so it's a very good place for the right kind of companies and brands and products to build awareness and to build narrative. But we were looking at both platforms. We do want to get both in and go even further than that. There are more platforms than that we're interested in. And some of it just comes down to the technicals of it. We were looking at both. We almost went TikTok first, but then we were more confident really in the reward mechanism we could build in X, and we'd rather go with confidence first. And then as we add more and more reward mechanisms, we would tackle some more challenging ones that we will be less confident we can pull off.
So, speaking of that, you guys came up with this novel mechanism to sit on top of. It's a scoring rule. It's a page rank, right, from Google. It's a Markov chain, if I remember correctly. It's sort of like you run like multiple iterations of squaring a matrix, and then you measure like the flow between particular nodes in that graph, and that gives you a good sense of the connectivity of any particular node. Um, eh, I don't think that Google uses AdSense anymore. It's been long ago that the algorithm was deprecated on their behalf, but it is a very powerful tool, very powerful graph theory mechanism for looking at connectivity. Why did you guys pick that instead of, for instance, by comparison, the way in which Nuance was doing it, or still is doing this, where they have a set of KOLs, and I think that they just measure the number of retweets or comments um, from people that are in a whitelisted set of accounts. That was the way that they approached botting. So you guys are going out and basically saying, okay, we're not going to try to measure whether or not the tweet got engagement from people in a whitelist. You're going to say, hey, if you are part of this whitelist, you're allowed to make content, and then if you make content that follows the brief, you get paid. Can you take us through a little bit more of how that mechanism works?
Yeah, so you're right. So the reason, so yeah, basically we're using PageRank to give everyone an influence score. That's one thing. That's the whitelist in. But then the influence scores are still significant in the actual scoring. So to score a tweet that's met the brief, we basically look at, you post a tweet and you will get a certain amount of retweets and quoted retweets from other members of the 150 accounts. And we basically take a sum of the influence scores of those accounts, and that's your score. So what it means, so we could have done it, it's like a voting system, right? And we could have done it a bit more flat, where each account in that list counts for one, and you know, a retweet from Jake is the same as a retweet from me. But the way that we've done it is, the more influential you are, the stronger your vote is. And that's for good reason, because the people that have the most influence, you know, you can swap the word influence for trust here. The people that have the most trust of the network, they are more trustworthy to hold the heavier votes. So it's a security feature, and it's also an incentive feature to get yourself up that list. So yeah, I think it's quite elegant, and it's all algorithmic. It's transparent. It's, you know, we have to seed it, but then it looks after itself from that point on. Yeah.
So the way that you mine a particular brief on the Twitter side of the network is you go and make a tweet that says, okay, we're, you know, at Bitcast are doing great things, and then and first, before you're allowed to make that tweet, you need to be part of the so the tight cluster of accounts ranked by PageRank, and then you make the tweet, and then it gets some attention from the other KOLs, and that's how you mine.
Yeah, that's it. It's easy if you're an account of influence and trust. It's difficult if you haven't earned that trust yet.
And so, hypothetically, for every brief, you could have a different set of, like, you could reach a different market, right? So the brief could select the starting node, and then you could build a new graph based on that starting node for the particular brief. Okay, I want to hit the render community.
Yeah, that's the plan, is to build out more of these network graphs in key ecosystems. And then the challenge will be getting people from those ecosystems to start mining, which is where this no-code mining comes in, remove all the friction. We're going to have a bot on X that approaches them and tells them that they can be earning on their tweets, and how to do it quite quickly and easily. And that's how we'll spread to these other ecosystems. Tau pilling on the way, and then we can push messaging into those ecosystems right to the core of them.
With the no code miner, the way it works is you guys have a specific UID, and that UID is basically like a mining pool, correct?
Yeah, correct.
And you subscribe to this mining pool with your account. It's very easy. You don't have to sign any cryptographic signatures. The account runs itself as a node or a server somewhere. It maintains. It basically runs a mini version of Bitcast behind it.
Yeah, it's all of those accounts. They all get rewarded through the same UID, and we distribute those rewards based on the scores to the cold keys that we have on record.
Going to the chat here, guys. There's a couple questions here as we get to the end of the presentation. Unless there anything else you guys wanted to chat about before we close off.
No, I'm happy to take some questions from the chat. Nothing particular I want to talk about.
If it's so from Travis, if it's a top 150 accounts and I'm account 151, can I still get in eventually? Is 150 account limit?
Yeah, I mean, I need to decide the exact number. I started, I did 128 and it seemed like it wasn't quite right. And there's a lot of accounts that should be in that we're not in. I think we'll go 150 or it could be 175 or it's going to be somewhere around there. But yeah, to answer the question, yes, you can get in. You just need to, the group is recalibrated every week. Some people will join, some people will leave based on their influence over the previous 30 days from that date. So if you want to get in and you're not in, put out some good content on X, and get engagement on that content from people that matter, and you'll probably find yourself in that group.
Yeah, and a key point on that as well is obviously when we're working with brands to do this, that is fully customizable. So you know, if a brand looks at a list that we've produced and like, yeah, I want to target the top 120 or 150, it's going to be totally different for different niches. So that's definitely a parameter that can be used by brands to basically select their level of UIDs, or sorry, accounts that they want to have mining.
There's a whole bunch of questions here from Travis. I've invited him to speak. You guys want to just run through that yourself?
Yeah, can do. Is there a risk the second IM for X Twitter is exploited and that bleeds rewards away from the YouTube IM? No, it's not. The way you set up subnet mechanisms is you partition your total emissions of your subnet as a whole. So we will assign, you know, on the YouTube side right now, we have actually got quite high burn, which tells us we've got a lot of capacity left in this subnet. So we just assign, say, 30% of our total emissions to the X side, and that's a hard partition. The two, there's no bleed in between the two. Next question, what's the split between them? Yet to be decided, but I think the nice thing about launching a subnet mechanism instead of launching a whole new subnet is we can start fairly low and build up. You know, inevitably there'll be exploits, there'll be issues early on. So we'll start with fairly low amount of our total emissions into the subnet and ramp it up over time and solve problems as we go. Your third question is the non-Bittensor briefs. How does the page rank work? Presumably you'll have a different page rank system for each domain. So we have different niches, but PageRank is, so for the Bittensor niche, the PageRank influence scores, that is generated using all of your tweets of the past 30 days, not just tweets that have hit briefs. So we've identified accounts as significant in the Bittensor conversation. And it's that significance that then goes towards the scoring of the briefs. So if the brief happens to be non-Bittensor, it's your Bittensor PageRank influence that counts for your scoring still. If that makes sense. And number 4, do I need 2 separate UIDs if I'm mine on YouTube and X? No, you don't. No, you don't. Basically, if you're doing it, let's say the old-fashioned way and managing your own UID, you need to tweet a code that follows a formula that basically contains your hotkey. So if you tweet that, then the validators will see that, and that's basically your X account saying, "Hey, I'm here. Point all of my missions to this hotkey." And that's what will happen.
There's a lot of the creators of your guys' creators in the call right here. And it's really awesome to like see the community you've built around, you know, this design. And like I said at the beginning of the call, like there's a lot of people that I speak to that absolutely love what you guys built because it's a new way to get involved with Bittensor without, you know, being a software engineer. The fact that you guys are building, you know, the no code miner, expanding to different ecosystems, TikTok, Instagram, you know, Twitter, like is really going to like push the frontier of the new communities we can reach. I would love to see us try to get more non-English content, more just non-Bittensor focused, so that we can get out into different ecosystems and not just be in the Bittensor echo chamber. Tom and Will, it was a pleasure to have you on stage this evening in your case, and my morning in mine. Thank you so much for coming. And let's end it here, guys. Thanks everyone for coming to